Good afternoon, and welcome to True Crime Mysteries. If you're new to the channel, hello and welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. As always, if you could give this video a thumbs up if you like the content, and comment your thoughts down below, that would be much appreciated as it helps the channel to grow. Today, we are discussing 3 unsolved cold cases. Let's get into it. Number 1. Kerry O'Brien Krueger. In December of 1989, Kerry O'Brien Krueger was living with her husband Tracy and their 3-year-old daughter Megan in Burlington, Wisconsin. At the time, the 31-year-old mother was working in the public relations department of Gander Mountain, an outdoor retail company known as Gander Outdoors. According to Tracy, Kerry's coworker called her on the evening of December 5th, asking her to join them for a trade show in Wyoming the next day. It would be a last-minute trip as she was replacing a coworker who couldn't make it. She packed her suitcase that night and planned to leave 4:30 a.m. the next morning to drive to Chicago, Illinois, where she would meet up with another coworker and catch a flight from O'Hare International Airport. She planned to return the following Sunday. Tracy remembered Kerry saying goodbye to him before she left on the morning of December 6th. A neighbor recalled seeing a black car outside of Kerry's home around 4:30 a.m. with a man in the driver's seat. According to their daughter Megan, the neighbor also said that she saw Kerry get into the car, but it's unclear what series of events is correct. Later that morning, Tracy got a call from one of Kerry's coworkers, asking where she was and why she hadn't shown up to work. Tracy told them that Kerry was at a trade show in Wyoming, only to find out that there was no trade show scheduled for that date, and that Kerry was not asked to attend any event at that time. So where had Kerry gone? Tracy then called Kerry's sister Molly to ask if Kerry was with her, which she wasn't. Molly encouraged Tracy to call the rest of her family and see if Kerry was with them, and then to call the police. But Tracy didn't want to call the police just yet, as he believed Kerry would be back soon. The next day, Tracy went with Kerry's parents to the police station and they officially reported her as missing. During the investigation, the police searched Kerry's home but found no evidence related to her disappearance. Many of her personal belongings were still there, including her brand new makeup, winter coat, and everyday hair tools. They did, however, notice that Kerry and Tracy's mattress was missing. When questioned, Tracy said that he'd bought a waterbed to surprise Kerry with upon her return because she'd always wanted one. Her family found that suspicious because Kerry was very frugal and wouldn't have been happy with the purchase. The original mattress was never located. Friends and family say Kerry and Tracy's marriage was in trouble. There was no evidence of abuse, but Kerry had previously told friends that she was going to consider divorce if things didn't improve. Before Kerry disappeared, Tracy had purchased a truck in their name and didn't tell Kerry about it. They believed Tracy forged Kerry's signature on the loan document and told her it was borrowed from a friend since she wouldn't have agreed to buy it. Some suspect that Kerry found out about the purchase and it caused an escalating fight on the night of December 5th. Their daughter Megan said that she doesn't believe her father was involved in her mother's disappearance. She said that her dad grieved for many years after Kerry disappeared, and that he'd been heartbroken. Kerry was a former journalist and an editor for the Burlington Standard Press, and she once wrote a story about changing identities, leading some to believe that she left to start a new life. Megan also said that after reviewing her mother's journal, she believed she left on her own accord. "We really truly believe that she left," she said. "From reading her diaries, and I do understand that the amount I have are from a very young age from her, from middle school through high school. She seemed very depressed." But the rest of Kerry's family doesn't believe she abandoned her husband and daughter. Some believe that she was being poisoned before she disappeared, as Kerry had been having an unknown gastrointestinal issues that doctors could never identify the cause of. Megan has also gastrointestinal issues that flare up when she gets stressed, which she suspects is the same issue her mother had. Kerry's brother Pat said that many family members believe Tracy is responsible. "My sister would not leave Megan," he said. "Everybody believes that he did it, and it is certainly not her fault." The question remains, did Kerry lie about the trade show and leave on her own, or did Tracy lie about the trade show to cover up a crime? Tracy said that Kerry traveled for business fairly often over the years, and he would take time off work to look after their daughter Megan, but according to Kerry's employer, She had only been scheduled to attend one out-of-town business trip back in 1987. One of Tracy's co-workers said that Tracy had once canceled a social engagement at the last minute, saying Kerry had a chance to go to Alaska on a business trip, so he'd have to watch Megan. But when a friend asked Kerry about the Alaska trip, she knew nothing about it. Kerry's sisters also said that, according to phone records, no call came in the night of December 6 from colleagues asking Kerry to join them for the trade show, as Tracy had said. According to Molly, 4 months after Kerry went missing, bloody men's pajama shirt and slippers were found in a neighboring county. Her family didn't recognize the shirt, but Molly said that Tracy was known for wearing pajamas and slippers in a similar style. The analysis concluded that there was human blood on the shirt and that it matched Kerry's blood type, but the shirt was not put into evidence. Tracy took a polygraph test in 1990, which was inconclusive. He was scheduled to take another test, but it was canceled after he was hospitalized due to severe mental health issue, which he claimed caused him to forget the last 10 years of his life. Because of this, he has never been asked to take another polygraph test. Heather Spranger of the Racine County Sheriff's Office is the current investigator on the case. She said that when detectives learned that Tracy'd replaced the bed and couldn't locate the original mattress, the investigation turned from police suspecting Kerry left voluntarily to suspecting something else. She also stated that in 1992, Tracy's brother confided in someone that Tracy had killed Kerry. The person went to the police and reported it, but Tracy's brother said it was a joke and that he had no knowledge of what happened to Kerry. Investigators also found that Kerry and Tracy were connected to a man who'd been charged with kidnapping and murder in the 1960s. They interviewed the man but concluded he was not a person of interest. After Kerry disappeared, her parents received a fake severed finger in the mail and a CD with Guns N' Roses' song "Used to Love Her" on it. The song contained the lyrics, "I used to love her, but I had to kill her." No one was able to determine who sent the items to the family. The investigation into the disappearance of Kerry O'Brien Krueger is still ongoing, and no arrests have been made. Her story has been featured on Dateline NBC and the true crime podcast Vanished.
I used to have a few memories of her, and now I think as the years have gone on, those little stop motion snippets of a movie have turned into memories of a memory. So it's really sad that sometimes I forget that she was a real person. I have to remind myself that this isn't some person in a movie or a book or a special that I'm seeing on 2020. This was my mother, a living, breathing person, and I missed out on all of that.
Kerry's family is still hopeful that one day they will have answers. Her sister Molly said, "I love to think that she is out there somewhere happy and healthy, but in my heart I know that is not true. We all accepted that a long time ago. If there is someone who knows something, please come forward." Sheriff Spranger encourages anyone with information about Kerry's disappearance or whereabouts to contact her directly at the Racine Sheriff's Office or anonymously at Crime Stoppers. Number 2. Daniel Robinson. It has been over 6 months, and friends and family, as well as volunteers, are still combing the Arizona desert in search of 24-year-old Daniel Robinson. Daniel was last seen on June 23, 2021 at around 9:15 a.m. He was leaving a job site in Buckeye, Arizona, where he was working as a geologist. Friends and family described Daniel as a scientist with a passion for adventure. He traveled often, but would always check in with family along the way, which made his disappearance all the more concerning. According to his family, Daniel had plans to visit his family in July, and was excited about the meeting. He was seen by federal law enforcement officials cleaning his Jeep that morning, and said that Daniel seemed clear-headed. He also spoke with his colleague, Kenneth, at a job site near Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road. Kenneth told police that Daniel was acting strange. During their 15-minute conversation, Daniel reportedly said that things didn't make sense and stared into the distance before leaving abruptly. Kenneth later contacted their project manager, Steve, who said no one had seen or heard from Daniel that day. By around 3 p.m., he still wasn't responding to texts or calls from work or family, so Kenneth set out to look for Daniel in the desert. He found tire tracks that he believed to be Daniel's and followed them out west to a large desert area. One of Daniel's coworkers went to Daniel's sister's apartment in Phoenix to check if he was there, but he wasn't. His sister then called their father, David Robinson, who called the Buckeye Police Department to report Daniel missing. But the police had a policy that missing persons could only be reported after 12 hours of disappearing, so he had to wait another 3 hours before calling back and putting in the official report. Then, he packed a bag and headed to Arizona from South Carolina to search for his son himself. Over the next few days, the Buckeye police conducted several ground searches and aerial searches near Daniel's job site, searched his apartment, reviewed his financial records, and attempted to ping his cell phone from a location and retrieve GPS data from his Jeep. But there was no sign of Daniel. Police began to question Daniel's mental state before his disappearance. According to reports, all of the posts on Daniel's Instagram profile had been deleted before he disappeared. They also questioned whether a recent romance may have played a factor. Daniel had met a girl while delivering groceries for Instacart. They swapped phone numbers, and according to her, Daniel began to get creepy, and he would show up at her house uninvited and text her that he loved her. She told him to stop, and the day before he disappeared, he sent her one last message that read, "The world can get better, but I'll have to take all the time I can, or we can, whatever to name it. I'll either see you again or never see you again." According to Daniel's sister, he had also started listening to a podcast recommended by the girl, and it changed the way he saw the world. The podcast by spiritual teacher and self-help author Eckhart Tolle showed him how to view things in the world in a positive energy to avoid negative energy. On July 19, 2021, a rancher found Daniel's blue Jeep Renegade in a ravine, less than 3 miles from his job site. The Jeep had rolled over on its side and the airbags were deployed. It also appeared that the sunroof had been kicked out. Inside, there was evidence that the driver had been wearing his seatbelt at the time of the crash. Also found inside the vehicle were several of Daniel's belongings, including his cell phone, wallet, keys, and the clothes that he was wearing on the day that he went missing. Police suggested to David that Daniel might have run away from his family to become a monk or join a cult somewhere, but David didn't buy it. Frustrated by what he believed to be a lack of progress and effort made by the police, David hired former police officer and vehicular crime investigator Jeff McGrath to help him find his son. McGrath's team ran an analysis on the vehicle. According to the Jeep system, the vehicle was involved in a collision around 1 p.m. on the 23rd, approximately 4 hours after Daniel was last seen, but no one knows what happened during that gap in time. Their report also uncovered a few abnormalities. According to McGrath,
after the airbags came out, somebody turned that ignition over at least 46 more times. That's not normal. We usually see 1 or 2 because it adds 1 when we download the box. We have to put power to it. There's an additional 11 miles on the car since the airbags deployed. So that tells me the car was driven around after it crashed.
They also found that the damage on the Jeep didn't match the terrain.
By looking at the photographs, it doesn't match the area. Sometimes those could be a staged event, and this looked like a staged event to me.
A few months later, Buckeye police ran their own analysis on the vehicle. According to their findings, the Jeep was involved in a rollover crash, which was the only car crash recorded in the vehicle system. The Jeep's speed increased right before the impact, leading investigators to believe that the driver was attempting to drive up the other side of the ravine. More than 40 ignition cycles were recorded after the crash, which could indicate the driver trying to restart the engine, though it's unclear how many of those ignition cycles occurred during the tow recovery. Police also stated that the 11-mile discrepancy between the crash data report and the odometer reading wasn't as strange as it may seem.
We had the national expert that came in and provided us his findings, and then they ended up speaking to an expert at Jeep, and the expert says, yes, sometimes that happens, and it's not unusual.
In July of 2021, a human skull was found south of the Jeep crash, but it was later determined that the remains did not belong to Daniel. Additional remains were also found during the search, but they belonged to animals. According to David, Several other human remains have been found in the area during their search for Daniel. David recently called for Daniel's case to be changed to a criminal investigation, due to what Jeff McGrath and his team uncovered about the crash. On the Change.org page he runs, David says, "Since my son has been reported missing, the Buckeye Police Department has done very little. The shortcomings of the Buckeye Police Department have been plentiful. Unfortunately, I have found that they have lied or approached the investigation in a nonchalant manner on several occasions." Daniel's family and friends continue to search for him in Arizona, supported by a crew of volunteers. Daniel is described as 5'8", African-American man, approximately 165 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He is missing part of his right forearm, including his hand. The family has set up a Change.org petition and GoFundMe page to gather donations and increase interest in the case. They also run the website pleasehelpfinddaniel.com. Number 3. Tisha Ann Dyer. The Hood River County Sheriff's Office in Oregon is looking for answers to a decades-long cold case. In June of 2003, human remains, a skull and mandible bone, were found off Forest Road 4410 on Mount Hood, just east of Portland, Oregon. When police discovered the skeletal remains, they suspected they belonged to a female victim of homicide. But they knew it would take time to identify the victim since, at the time, more than 100 women had been reported missing in Oregon during the 2 years prior. That process ended up taking 18 years, but in 2021, the Oregon Medical Examiner was able to positively identify the remains as 36-year-old Tisha Ann Dyer. According to family and friends, Tisha was living in Portland, Oregon at the time of her disappearance, but hadn't been seen or heard from since 2002. Mount Hood, where the remains were found, is a remote area, and her family say that they couldn't think of a reason for Tisha to be there, as she wasn't an avid hiker or involved in many outdoor activities. The Hood River County Sheriff's Office, in partnership with Crime Stoppers of Oregon, are offering a $2,500 reward for any information that leads to an arrest in the case. Anyone with information regarding Tisha's disappearance and murder can submit an anonymous tip at crimestoppers.com. There is very little on this particular cold case. Well, that is it for this video. As always, please give this video a thumbs up if you like the content, and subscribe for more if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I post. And if you've done all that and want to support me and the channel, we have channel membership as well as Patreon to get early access, members-only streams, and more. We also have merch and other goodies in the description box, as well as links to all my socials. But until then, I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.